Hey guys, what's going on? Storm from Team First Class Yu-Gi-Oh! Here with a Nekroz deck profile. This is one of the decks I play every so often when I take a break from Crusadias or Plunders or whatever I'm playing at the time. That doesn't really focus on extra deck. It's mostly it is a ritual based deck. It's a really fun deck. Kind of stops the opponent from spamming extra deck monsters if you can get the main guy Unicorn out. And it's a protect the castle kind of deck, so he is, once you summon him, you gotta protect him any way you can. So I got some splice, some techs, some interesting ratios that you guys might be interested, so let's just go right into it. So first, 3 Unicorn. Now that he's back at 3, max him out. He negates well, he does negate. He negates the effects of extra deck monsters, which is really good. A lot of extra deck monsters are being played recently. As well as he has a discard effect that lets you add a Nekroz card from your graveyard to your hand. So since he's at 3 again, you don't have to worry about discarding one of him to hopefully get a card from your graveyard that would put you in an advantage. You don't have to worry as much anymore. You can have one on the field, discard him, grab something else, maybe a ritual spell and ritual spell that you could use to summon a different Nekroz to even give you a bigger chance of holding ground. Next, 3 Brionac, whatever. He's the main monster searcher for the Nekroz archetype. That's why you play him at 3. You can search Unicorn, all the other ritual monsters, Shurit. Helps you just gain advantage in your hand to ritual something, things like Unicorn. He also has an effect that when he's on the field, you can target 2 monsters from the extra deck and bounce them back into the extra deck. So you're summoning out if your opponent doesn't have monsters that have protections from things like that, shuffle them back, you gain the advantage. Next, 2 Colossalus, the Ritual Spell Searcher. Ritual spells are easy to get into, but he's here to get the ones maybe that you would need instead, because there's 3 different kinds and you might draw the one that you don't want for the situation your hand is in or what your opponent has on field. And Colossalus's on-field effect is pretty good. It's a quick effect negate and makes the opponent's extra deck monster 0 attack, so it makes them easier to get into next turn or just stops them in their plays. Next, 2 Trishula, one of the protections for Unicorn. You discard him and it stops your opponent from targeting your Nekroz monsters. As well, if he's on the field and summoned, you have the Trish effect where you banish 1 from hand, field, and graveyard. So that's really nice too. Kind of gets you an advantage. And then the one-ofs, 1 Gugnir, 1 Valk. Gugnir protects from battle and card effect. And then Valkyrius it just stops the battle phase, which is really nice for if you're versing an OTK deck or just a deck that relies on battle phase a lot. Just discard him and then just end it. Like they can't do anything. You go into your turn, you build something up, bring out Trish, bring out something big, knock over their monster, and you got it. Next, we have some actual ritual monsters that help the deck. 3 Chalice Slime. This helps you get an incantation from the deck out by revealing. You can reveal this card, discard a card, and a special incantation. So it helps you get an advantage for something you might be lacking in your hand, and hopefully you ritual summon, because if not, you take burn damage. You don't really summon him, you just use him for his summon effect of getting an incantation. Then the 1 Ben 10, you tribute this off to get either summon Brio or use this in tandem with something else. Just if she's tributed, you can search for a light fairy, and that gets you into that grabs you not Ben 10. That grabs you Manju of the Thousand Hands to help find a ritual spell or ritual monster that you might be lacking. Then into just effect monsters, 2 Shurret. Some people play him at 1, some people play him at 3. I think 2 is good in between because you can use him as the whole cost of a Nekroz ritual monster, and then he also gains effects in the graveyard that allow you to search for another Nekroz monster to help you gain a more advantage. So you ritual something out, maybe get a Trish or a Gungnir or a Valk to help that Nekroz stay on the field a little bit longer. Then I got the 2 Manju. You could play this at 3, you probably should play this at 3, I just only have 2. But 3 is always a good idea, just search for a spell or monster that you might be missing for a ritual. It helps you search for a ritual monster that you might be missing or a ritual spell you might be missing to get your plays through. Then the incantations, 2 Talus, 2 Plume, 2 Candle. No Bookstone. Bookstone isn't seen as often, and with Unicorn at 3, you can recur your spells a little bit more often using him, and you can grab him more easier than Bookstone. Candle lets you search for a ritual spell from the deck. Plume lets you get a ritual monster from graveyard, and Talisman lets you get a ritual monster from the deck. All helps you get into fills up your hand for what you need to ritual summon. Oh, and then you would use them as ritual summon monsters as well to get something out. I know Diatrons were announced a bit ago, so these could possibly switch up for Diatrons when they come out, because Diatrons go based off attack, and they have other things that help you gain advantage, just like the incantations did. Then 2 1-ofs, 1 Vanity Ruler, 1 Zaborg. This is also one of the searchers for Ben 10. This helps you lock your your opponent out of the extra deck, as well as just special summoning in general. And then Zaborg, I like to keep him 1-of because summoning 2 incantations and then summoning Zaborg and attributing Zaborg and just dumping the extra deck and then dumping your whole extra, like a chunk of your extra deck. They don't get advantage, you do get an advantage. Like, it's so big that I don't feel right not having it in there. 1-of's fine, but you can cut it, or you can tag. If you don't have Vanity's Ruler, you can put another Zaborg or any sort of variation. Next, we have the spells. 2 Cycle, 2 Kaleidoscope, and 1 Mirror, and 1 Inception. I think these ratios kind of work. You could bump up the Mirror to a second one, but I felt like 2 Cycle for getting potentially a Nekroz from the graveyard, Kaleidoscope dumping something from your extra deck to gain advantage, such as dumping a Herald or an Atis. Mirror isn't so good because it's kind of like the basic one. You pretty much are stuck from summoning from hand or field. Summoning from hand, but you have to use monsters from hand, field, or banish Nekroz from your graveyard, and you don't want to banish them too often. So I pretty much just use this as a basic ritual spell, and then use these more as a overall ritual spell. Because these can get from graveyard, and this helps you dump to gain a little bit of advantage as long as they go through. And then Inception, this is pretty much just used for summoning anything, using incantations, or you use it for the second effect to summon an incantation from your deck to gain more advantage. Then this gets back into your hand, then you could possibly use it for a ritual summon. So it's not too bad. Then 3 Called by the Grave, 3 Preparation, and 1 Rhoda. Stop hand traps, because if you kind of are hand trapped, you're kind of stuck. You might get not a strong board or not able to set up to protect your Unicorn as much, so this is good to have. Preparation Rites, of course, is like a staple in all ritual decks, so you need this to search for your ritual monsters. And then Reinforcement helps you get the Shurret, so you can use him as the full cost of a ritual monster. Pretty basic, no traps. You could play evenly. I used to play evenly. especially if you're going second. So evenly is also a good idea to add to this deck. So let's go into the extra deck. So extra deck is pretty much just targets for Kaleidoscope, as well as Zaborg targets. So 3 Herald, 2 Unitas, and 1 Omega are pretty much your big Zaborg targets. These help you get the searches for ritual stuff. These do the pops for you, and this has a shuffle back. So these are all kind of advantage cards and pretty much half of the cost for Zaborg when you dump him out. Or you can do each one individually for whenever you need it off of Kaleidoscope, just to pretty much search out, not search out. These top 5 are pretty much just used for Unicore, so keep that in mind. Next are pretty much just all Kaleidoscope targets, so Dawn Dragster, Mud Dragon, Starving Venom, Thunder Dragon Titan, and 5-Headed Dragon. You pretty much just are using them for the levels. Not much to them. You could side in Super Poly to use some of these, or just swap these out for Super Poly targets, because Super Poly is a side deck option for this deck. Then some rank 4, since Unicore is at 3, you might be able to get multiple of him out, as well as Incantation Candle, since they're both level 4s. Exiton, Gaga Cowboy, Abyss Dweller, and Tornado Dragon. Just a little bit of extra XYZ help to maybe get you that small advantage you would need late game, if anything. And that is it with the deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Letting me know your spicy Nekroz techs. This deck could always be improved. Nekroz is a very common deck that you could always throw 1 or 2 cards in, even in their own archetype. I know there's a Pendulum monster you could use as like a ritual spell, and an effect monster you can use as a ritual spell instead of using an actual ritual spell monster. I haven't tested those out too often, but I know they're really good to tech in every so often. But let me know if you guys got any other ideas for this deck. If you have any other deck suggestions that we could make a profile of, make sure to leave a comment down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.